Woo, 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 woo. Howdy, Ags. AP here, talking Aggie football. Brought to you by Frida Custom Homes, building Aggie dreams. Folks, don't forget, email us, agstailgate@gmail.com. Send us some commentary. Let us know if there's something you want to change on the show. How do you like the 30-minute sessions versus the hour-long sessions? Whatever you got, we will listen. Just give us some feedback. Corey,
Yo,
what's the word, bro?
Curious about these 30-minute sessions. We've done like one of them, I think. It's gone 30.
Yeah, it's not working out too well for us. We like to talk more than 30 minutes, apparently. So,
and people don't understand. We were just on here for a good half an hour talking before we even started this thing.
I think it was more like 45 minutes. Yes,
yeah, exactly. I mean, we talk about this stuff, and then we come on and talk some more.
Yeah, what can we do, man? We're passionate about it. We love it. We love to talk about it.
Yeah.
We love to watch it. We love to learn. So
it is what we think we know. It's what we think we know. And
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if you know. I know. I mean, obviously, talking to you earlier, I mean, it's obvious you don't know a lot about a lot of stuff. So let's go ahead and get started.
That is a true statement. That is a true statement. All right, so a couple of things non-football related. Baseball team has a good weekend there against LSU, takes 2 out of 3, and then comes back and wins a Tuesday game against Rice, and then they've got Auburn this weekend. So, some positives there with the baseball team. The bullpen has still been a struggle, so we'll see how that continues to play out throughout the SEC play. Women's basketball hires their new coach. Replacing a legend will be Johnny Taylor, former coach at Georgia. So took away from a fellow SEC school, rated that organization over there. Corey, what do you think? Johnny Taylor.
Hopefully you just keep it going. Gary Blair did a great thing. I mean, I'm not sure how bare the cupboard is after last year, but just keep it going. That's all I can say. Gary Blair's still going to be around, and I'm sure he'll get some insight and help recruiting, do whatever he can to do to help the program. But just keep it going, man.
Yeah, and I'll say this: the one thing Johnny Taylor, maybe not the one thing that Johnny Taylor has going for her is that she's already taken over for one legend, right? So the coach she replaced over at Georgia had been there forever and was a guy that had taken them to the many NCAA tournaments and all that. So they had a good history going into that. And so she's used to that part of the job. Of course, we'll see how she does here at A&M, replacing a legend and a Hall of Famer, I think in anybody's eyes. And so, hopefully Gary Blair does provide her a little bit of support. I don't see the connection with A&M, so there's not really any ties to the program. But I wish her luck. So hopefully things turn out well. Men's basketball played tonight, probably starting about 35 minutes. Play Wake Forest at Reed Arena, so another home game for them. A chance to move into the next round and go to Madison Square Garden for the semis of the NIT. Wake, a pretty good team, though. 25-9 overall, 13-7 in the ACC. What do you think about this matchup?
I think it's going to be tough for the Aggies. It's going to be a tough game. ACC is a very high-scoring team. Like to get up and down the court. They'll shoot a lot of threes. The competition ACC, everybody was saying it was down this year, but if you look at the tournament and even the NIT, they had some success everywhere they've been. So the ACC it's a basketball conference. That's what it's always been known for, and
it's not a football conference. We know that.
No, not at all. It's definitely basketball. I mean, the East Coast is where I'm from, and that's what they do over there. They love their basketball. And Wake Forest, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but Wake Forest, Duke, North Carolina, NC State are all within. I mean, they're a good 20, 25, 30 miles apart from each other. They're real close campuses.
My brother Mauricio lives right in that area, so yeah, I've been over. I'll tell you this: this is a tough matchup for the Aggies. Like you said, they'll run up and down, but they'll shoot, and
Yeah.
they've got shooters. They got 5 different guys that can shoot the ball, 6 different guys that can shoot the ball pretty well from beyond the arc. Not to mention they've got a lot of length, man, a lot of length, and
See,
so that I think that's one thing. Now they're not one of those teams. I'm not sure. I'm really worried about like their rebounding presence necessarily. One of those teams that's going
no,
to toughen you up inside and stuff like that.
they're
But their
not. They don't
length
have the
is an issue.
athletes that we have.
Right.
We have better athletes, I believe, but they also don't have like players. You know how Q can get the ball and make it on his own. They only got maybe one or two of those guys. That Williams, and they got this other 6'8" kid, Jarvis. I can't remember his last name. He's really good. But
Walton?
they're just their whole team is built like A&M. It's a bunch of transfers, guys that were pretty much cast-offs, maybe from other places that didn't get playing time, and now they come together and they have a good squad. I think it's gonna be entertaining. It's a spread's 2.5. Who do you like? Over under is 146.5.
I like the under. How about that?
I like the over.
I like the under because ultimately I do think that the Aggies are going to be able to slow them down some. I think that the Aggies will also press them throughout the game as they always do, and
That's what they're
hopefully
gonna do, yeah.
cause some turnovers and get some production that way. I don't know. I don't know about the spread itself. Like I said, I think it's a really tough matchup. I think it's going to be close. Hopefully we get a good result. I think if we have a really strong crowd there at Reed Arena today, which, by the way, I think it's free admission to the game. With a really strong crowd, I think we've got a chance to win this one.
I think so too. I mean, I think we have a chance. Like I said, the spread's 2.5. So I mean, the odds makers think it's going to be a close game. That kind of spread, you know what it's like. If you're favored by 2.5 and you're at home, they're saying that the other team's probably a little bit better than you, right? And that's a Alejo method of betting.
Yeah.
If you're a betting man, which you are, you would probably take Wake Forest in this game, wouldn't you?
I probably would. And here's the thing, though. I also provide the curse on the bet. So if I bet for Wake Forest, they're likely to lose. So
you should go ahead and take Wake Forest.
I should put that bet in here in a minute.
Yeah, go ahead and put 25 on that.
So the one thing I will say for this game tonight is, this is very John Madden-esque, but the Aggies are going to have to make some shots to win.
I don't know why you say dumb stuff like that. I guess they're going to have to outscore them to win too, huh?
No, I'm just saying it's not going to be one of those games where they can go 1 for 16 from the 3-point line and win the game, which I think they've done something very similar to that. So,
real quick question for you: If the Aggies lose this game, is the season success or a failure this year?
This season has been a success, and it doesn't matter what happens in this game or even what happened in round 1 of the NIT.
Because you say that, but about 3/4 of the way through the season, it was, the season sucks. They're over. When they were on an 8-game losing streak.
Well, my point was that it was hard to watch.
We were talking Buzz's job was on the line. And
no. You never heard me say that Buzz's job was on the line.
I don't know.
Don't make up words. I am 100% behind Buzz.
I love Buzz. Don't get me wrong. I love Buzz. I always have. But I'm just saying, results. This is all driven by results, right?
What I'm saying is this. Was it hard to watch them in the middle of the season? Yes, it definitely was. And anybody that says otherwise, anybody that says otherwise is lying.
So what changed? They just started winning?
Well, not only they started
winning. They got
winning,
rid of Marcus Williams.
I thought they started playing better.
How?
They did. I thought they were playing more together. I thought that.
I mean, there was only one change that was made.
I don't know if Marcus Williams was the problem, but he was obviously not fitting in well with the team.
Obviously.
It seems to me. Obviously, after the fact, it's obvious.
Yeah.
What I will say is this, that they share the ball better lately. They move the ball better lately. To me, they also play more together defensively. And that's a big thing for this team because they do so much pressing, so many traps, that there has to be constant communication and movement throughout for the whole defense, right? If you're not constantly moving and trying to recover from all those things, you put the team in a bad position, right? And so there's things like that you watch them for somebody that's familiar with how basketball should be played. If you watch that part of it, to me, that's where they've gotten better on both sides of the floor, because I think they're more of a team, a cohesive unit than they were prior.
I understand what you're saying. I believe that. I think that they understand their roles now better than what they did before. You don't see Gordon chucking up shots like he did at the beginning of the season. He's a good defensive player. He can make an open shot here and there, but he's not trying to create a zone like he was earlier this season, like Marcus Williams was doing. Now, Quentin Jackson, they know he can do that because he's shown the ability to do that. But, I mean, that's what players understand. Henry Coleman's not a ball handler. He understands his role inside, and he's been doing that all season. But at the same time, they know to get him the ball now inside that he can do that. They know that the post is not their strength.
a couple of other things too, right? I mean, a couple of other things, right? Q has absolutely stepped his game up. 100%. He's 100% the leader of this team. There's no question. The guy has stepped his game up. I think that's huge. And two other guys have grown into their role. Hefner and Obaseki have added to their role from the middle, since about the middle of the season and forward, have become a bigger part of this team, right? Obaseki, a freshman, Hefner, so you got those guys that have now sort of built themselves a little spot on this team and getting regular minutes, which they weren't earlier in the season, right? Both of those guys, by the way, can make plays. Hefner has made some shots, not only from deep, but also has made some really nice plays driving to the basket, right? And Obaseki is with the ball in his hands, is very aggressive, and he's one of those guys that can get to the basket almost at will if he's one-on-one, right?
He looks like he's out of control a lot to me.
He does. He still does.
I think another year or two they'll be better. Another thing, do you think this team's going to have this? They're not going to have the same turnover they had last year, right? No way.
No, but they will. They are going to lose their best player, right? I mean, Q's out. He's gone.
Well, I understand that.
And is it Henderson? Henderson's probably out now. Henderson's role has diminished as the year sort of went on, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Who else? But other than that, is that about it? Is Gordon? I think Gordon still has another year.
Back. Gordon's got a year or two left.
So, they don't lose, like you said, they don't lose as many pieces, and I do like the chemistry where this team is.
I didn't see this happening last year where we lost everybody except for two players.
Pretty much.
I mean, I didn't see that happening. But
so they've got a chance next year to start off at a much better place and hopefully grow as the season goes on, just like they did this year, right? I mean, they should continue to grow. I still think, look, Q started taking that role this year, but they're going to need somebody to step into that role of being able to take the reins of a game when it's late or when it's, one of those droughts where you haven't scored a bucket in a while. Can they find somebody on that team for next year to do that? And that's going to be a big piece of it for their success next year.
Well, Boots is coming back. I don't know if he's not the type of player that really creates his own shot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He doesn't do that. Yeah. Gordon can do a little bit of that. He has a little bit of creativity. But that's what they've been saying.
Taylor will have an opportunity to try to take Obaseki if he can, like you said, start getting more under control, start growing into his body a little bit, because he's a long guy. He's still going to have some growth for him. So guys like that, I think, are the guys that have an opportunity to take that role. Other than that, I mean, where's the recruiting class? Where are the transfers? What's going on in that area? And we'll see sort of how that completes the team, right? I mean, you'd hate to put, it's not really how you want to build a team, right? It's go pick up a guy that's going to be your closers out of, as a freshman, or there's not very many of those guys that as freshmen can do it, right? I mean, Carmelo,
right.
But there's not a lot of them, right? So I don't know. We'll see. It'll be interesting. I
don't see the SEC being as strong next year as they are this year. I mean, I see a lot of the top teams taking a step back. Auburn, I see, is taking a step back. Florida losing their coach, taking a step back.
Look, that's a great
LSU,
point right there.
Taking a step back. There's a lot of teams. Who else was it that I was just thinking about that's like Kentucky? I mean, you never know.
Alabama?
Yeah, Alabama. I mean,
so there's a number of them, and you're absolutely right. I mean, I think that leaves a very takeable SEC, right?
Right.
So that you can make some noise in the conference and go,
Mm-hmm.
try to get yourself a higher seed in that tournament and go play, right? So, we'll see. I myself right now want to go see an NIT championship. How about we go to New York City?
I'm in. I'll book it right now.
Done and done.
Done.
All right, so let's move into some football. Let's move into a little bit of football. Let's start with some NFL news, though. Before we go into what we've seen from the Aggies in practice, let's talk a little NFL. NFL is absolutely crazy right now. I cannot believe I have never seen this, man. I cannot believe the movement that's going on. First, I'd like to congratulate and give a lot of love to my boy Vaughn Miller, one of my favorite Aggies of all time. 6 years, $120 million from the Buffalo Bills. He's trying to go win a championship again. He's trying to go win another Super Bowl because the Bills have a chance to do that. Corey?
How old is Vaughn Miller?
31.
32? 31? Okay. Out of this 6 years, how long do you see him playing?
3.
3? That's what I'm saying.
They structured it that way to spread out the hit, right? The cap hit.
I got you. I love Vaughn Miller to death, man. I think it's great. It's just hard for a defensive end or a linebacker, whatever you want to call them in the pros, to play to that age, to take on that kind of hits. I mean, the guy's going to be a chicken farmer, for God's sakes. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. But no, he's won 2 Super Bowls. He's going to play where the Bills. That team's they're loaded on offense, and now they're getting their defense, which is already good.
Yeah,
they're going to be strong. And
that's the whole thing. I think that really shows me this guy right now is playing for a ring.
Yeah,
right. He's got 2 of them, which is he was the MVP in one of them, by the way. He was the MVP in one of them. He might have should have been the Super Bowl MVP in the second one because he had a pretty good game. But he's going and chasing rings. He's not chasing the cash and all that. Don't get me wrong. This is a great contract. It's a lot of money and it's all those things. But he's not going to see all this money because it's not all guaranteed, right? He's not going to see all this money because it's structured for the 6 years to try to manage the cap numbers early on. Because the Bills know that they can win now too, right? They're in a position to win now. And I think he's showing up as a piece, knowing he's a piece, not as the star, not as the guy. He's over there to be the contributing factor for something that they needed. And I love the fact that he's done that. I wish him the best, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills win the Super Bowl next year. I've bet on the Super Bowl champion 2 years in a row prior to the season. I'm going to do it again. The Bills might be them.
Mm-hmm.
But aside from Vaughn, man, there's been a ton of movement. I mean, we talked about some of it last episode, but now that Matt Ryan's gone to the Colts, and so now, prior to this happening, Wentz had been traded from the Colts over to the Washington Commanders or whatever they're, Watson to the Browns. What happens with Baker? Now that Watson is over with the Browns, Mariota signed with Atlanta. Jameis is back in New Orleans. Trubisky's in Pittsburgh. All these things have happened. Adams got traded to the Raiders. And then today, Tyreek Hill leaves the Kansas City Chiefs, gets traded to the Miami Dolphins for a first, a second, and I think 3 other picks.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And he gets a 4-year, $120 million deal as a wide receiver. That is going to be 29 when the season starts, and his number one thing is speed. I mean, how's that going to work, man? I don't get it.
I don't get it either, man. It means these receivers are getting paid like they're left tackles or quarterbacks now, aren't they? I mean, 29-year-old him and Devontae Adams was the highest paid receiver last week.
It lasted a week.
Jesus.
Lasted a week.
These teams, I mean, they're putting all their money in these receivers. I mean, I'd like to know who's getting them the ball. I mean, who do you have faith in? And do you have faith in Tua to get him the ball? You know what I'm saying? I mean, is your receiver going to look that
and
good?
They have Jalen Waddle over there. I mean, he seems like a very close fit to what Jalen Waddle already does on that team, right?
I mean, there's a lot of questions about being a receiver. You got to have somebody get you the ball, and we've seen circumstances where receivers go to different places. Julio Jones last year went to Tennessee. Everybody thought, this looks like a pretty good fit. Didn't do anything. I mean, injuries didn't help, but I mean that's part of the game.
Look, it's clear he wanted to get paid, right? He wanted to get paid. Kansas City couldn't do it because they gave Mahomes all that money. So they can't pay all the rest of these guys. He wanted to get paid, and he did. And mind you, for him, good for him. I don't understand why the Miami Dolphins do it. It's not like they're on the doorstep of a Super Bowl, right?
No. They're not even on the doorstep of winning their own conference, their own division. I mean, they got Buffalo sitting at the top.
Look, the Bills are winning the division.
The Patriots are good, maybe second place. I mean, they're going to beat the Jets.
Look, they'll be in competition for the second spot now with changes that they've made this offseason, but they're not going to make a run in the playoffs. They're not going to. I
mean, how many teams make the playoffs? 7 out of the West. I mean, out of the AFC, 7.
Right. So
I can think of like 8 teams. I can think of 8 teams that are better than them. I can think of 8 teams that are better than them still. I mean, just right off the top of my head.
It's tough. It's a tough situation. It's a situation I don't understand because they've gone in and put it all in on this guy in a situation where he doesn't take them over the top, right?
Right. I mean, it's just looking at the conference. I mean, look at the AFC. I mean, Cincinnati's gonna be good, right?
Yeah, they've brought in Cincinnati's brought in 3 new offensive linemen. That group's gonna get better, right?
Yeah, I mean, just look at the AFC there. That's what I'm looking at. Just the AFC. The Dolphins have spent all this money on Hill, left tackle, a couple running backs. They brought in
the running backs. Makes no sense to me, by the way. The running backs make no sense to me. Cedric Wilson's another guy that.
So I mean,
he's a piece.
So 7 teams make it. Just remind you, okay? So let's say Cincinnati. They're probably in, right? Defending the champs of the Buffalo. That's 2. Baltimore. Maybe 3. I don't know if you're going Tennessee or Indiana. Indianapolis. One of those has to be in
one of
right?
those. Yeah.
So that's 4. Now let's go to the West.
Somebody from the West is getting in.
Now, which one? There's 4 good teams there. You got Kansas City, who still has Mahomes. You know, they lose Hill.
You got the Broncos with Russell
Wilson. You got the
Derek
Chargers.
Carr.
You got the Chargers. I mean,
I don't believe in the Chargers, but I'll give you that little wish.
I like the Chargers. I think the Chargers are better than the Dolphins.
I don't believe
4, 5,
I think the
6,
Chargers end up in
7,
last place in that division because of the coaching.
I think the Dolphins are still the 9th or 10th best team in the AFC, just after all this.
Their only saving grace is the fact that in the West, those 4 teams are probably going to beat each other some. So, they may get 2. The West may get 2 teams in, but they're not going to get 3.
Well, that's the thing about the South. I mean, if you're in the South, if you're the Colts and the Titans, I mean, you got 4 easy wins this season or something like that. You get to play Houston and Jacksonville twice each. I mean, you're at least winning 4 games. The over-under on them is 5. I'm taking the over every year.
No doubt about it. All the time, every time. But it's been interesting. I'll tell you what, it makes it interesting because all of a sudden you're seeing a lot of different things and what's going to happen next year. And we talk about the AFC. So, it's the whole idea. What happens with the Cleveland Browns now with Deshaun Watson and the pieces that they brought in, Amari Cooper, so on and so forth, right? Are they a team that's going to take a jump?
Yeah. I think they're right there with the Dolphins. There's a lot of they could be good. They have I think they have talent. But I don't know if they're going to be. I mean, what's going to happen with Watson? Is he going to be able to play?
There might be a suspension in there. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's going to be the crazy part because we know, me and in football especially, more than any other sport, the coaching matters so much. And so really and truly, it's going to be about the guy over there in Cleveland or in Miami or wherever, that. How do they manage all these personalities and put things together? Can they get these guys to move in the right direction all together? Because if they can, they've got talent. Don't get me wrong. They can compete.
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh's going to drop off a lot this year, to be honest with you. If they have Mitch Trubisky at quarterback, I think they're going to take a big drop.
I don't think so. And this is my reason why. Defense head coach. Did I say
Okay.
defense twice?
Yeah.
That defense is still going to be really good. The head coach has proven to be really good. I mean, they may not be great, but they're going to be – they still have to do some – add to that offensive line, fix some of the holes in the offensive line. But I think they're still competitive. Coaching means so much in that league, I think.
And quarterback play doesn't?
Quarterback play means less than what people give it credit for. How about that?
Really?
Yeah.
So you're telling me that the Green Bay Packers would be just as good without Aaron Rodgers as they
I'm
would
going to tell you that the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers aren't going to be as good as they were last year with Devontae Adams.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, I don't think Devontae Adams will be as good as he was. I mean, I think Carr's a good quarterback. I don't see him doing the same numbers as he did with
I think the Raiders could win
Rodgers.
the West.
Well, I think they could too. They almost won it last year. I mean,
the problem with the Raiders, and hard to tell because they've got a new coach in McDaniels too, right? I mean, so if they'd have kept the guy at the end of the year, man, I'd be real high on the Raiders right now.
Yeah.
But I don't know what McDaniels done. I know what he did in Denver, and that guy, nobody liked the guy, right? So we'll see how he does. Has he learned from those mistakes, right? Second go around, and people can learn. People can get better.
I doubt it. I don't think he did. Yeah, they don't change. People don't change. People say they do. They don't change.
That may be true.
Yeah.
All right. Keeping with the NFL theme, though, let's go to Aggie Pro Day, man. Aggie Pro Day yesterday had a bunch of teams there, all 32 teams represented, as a matter of fact, in the indoor facility. Look, word out of Aggie land and sort of what's going on over there, everybody underperformed.
Yeah, I heard Leal didn't do well. I heard Starkle looked good.
Good. Look, you got to give it to Starkle, man, because here's the thing. In shorts and T-shirts, throwing the football around in the backyard, that guy looks amazing. He's a really good quarterback. He is.
Got the arm.
The question is, everywhere else, is he any good? So, but I love it for Starkle. Hopefully he does. Look, hopefully somebody was impressed by it and maybe he gets a late round flyer somewhere or even, gets brought in as a free agent or something, whatever.
He'll be a free agent.
The guy's got the size and the arm and all that. He just isn't a baller, right? I mean, it's just the way it is. But let's look at the Aggies that just left the team. And I'm told Hansford had a decent pro day. O'Neal, his times weren't very good, but on the field he looks good, cutting, moving, those kinds of things. So we'll see if that – but he ran a 4.740, man. That would have been one of the worst times for a safety in the combine, or the worst time for a safety in the combine. I think the worst at the combine was like a 4.59. He's not even close. He's a full tenth of a second, more than a tenth of a second slower than that.
Yeah, that's not gonna cut it. I heard Leal was slow too.
Leal, yeah, he was slow. His time was pretty close to what he ran at the combine, a little bit worse actually. But and you get Spiller, he runs in the 4.6s. He's probably the guy that ran the best out of all of them, but he runs in the 4.6s, and that's one of the worst tailbacks in the combine, right? That's a long. Of course, as well as I do, when it comes to tailbacks, it ain't 40 times mean nothing.
No.
40 times mean, or very little, let's say that. Maybe not nothing, but they mean very little. And I'd like to see what the experts over at ESPN say about it, because when the Notre Dame tailback, Kyron Williams, he ran a little bit worse than Spiller. And Mel Kiper goes on ESPN. He's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean anything for Kyron. If you watch him play football, he's a football player. Okay. Does that same analysis happen for Spiller? Which, if you watch him play football, by the way, he's a pretty damn good football player. I'd still take him.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, it's pro day. It's all about what you see, and I don't know how many of those guys go out there and they test, and these guys get all excited. We've seen it happen year in and year out. Jamarcus Russell went out there and threw from his knees, threw it 70 yards, and then he came into the NFL and couldn't hit anybody. I mean, so I mean, it is what it is. It's just
the guy I feel the worst for, apparently, and the guy who's getting the most criticism is Watermeyer. And they're saying Watermeyer may not get drafted. He's
they're
gone
saying
from
they saying he should have came back.
and I don't know if he just hadn't been working out, preparing, whatever. If he's just really that slow. In pads, he plays quicker than the times that he runs. I'll tell you that. I have no problem saying it. He still had some drop issues this year, which obviously affect him. But at the end of the day, is he a guy that can go make plays? Yeah, he is, and still got work to do, and he can get better. But I have a hard time thinking that somebody doesn't take a chance on a guy like that.
What about Kenyon? Is there anything about him?
Yeah, probably the best performance out of the bunch, and a lot of folks are still thinking that he's a first rounder coming out. Probably the number one interior offensive lineman to come off the board, if not number two after Linderbaum, the center, I think. So he's one of those guys that will end up getting drafted early, maybe first, late first, mid to late first, probably to early second. The question really is, do we have another Aggie that gets drafted before the fourth round? And that's after the pro day is a legitimate question.
Really? Leal's dropping that much?
Leal's dropping that much.
Wow.
So we'll see. We'll see. To me,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, you have to look, but you still have to go look at the body of work, for them in the season and on the field. And I'm a true believer that Spiller will be a steal for whoever they drafts him, because it'll be no earlier than the second round, and that guy's a football player. Leal, I think, is going to be a steal for whoever takes him, because that guy's a football player. He's got a motor. He's got the physical skill set. It's not all about 40 times with a defensive tackle, right? So, there's a lot. There's, like I said, there's going to be somebody that's very happy with their choice after that happens. But it seems like it's going to be in the fourth round.
That sucks.
Yeah. So we wish those guys well. Other football news in Aggie land: Eli Holstein decides to decommit from the Aggies. He was going to be the 2023 quarterback. He'd committed a while back. And look, I don't have a problem with it. I understand. The kid's from Louisiana. All of a sudden, he wants to explore the situation at LSU, I'm sure, and make sure that that's not a place he'd be more interested in. So he's going to let it play out throughout the season, and that, it is what it is.
Yeah, it doesn't really sway me either way, as long as
By the way, the day after Jimbo Fisher offered a 5-star quarterback.
Really, who?
Yeah, I'm blanking on the name right now, but he offered. Doesn't mean he's committed, right?
Well, the Aggies are on everybody nowadays. I mean, just look at it. We're nationwide. We're recruiting nationwide. We're not just these pipeline states anymore. Everything's a pipeline to us now. It's we're nationwide. Like I said, we're up there with Alabama and Georgia. You name it. We're recruiting with them, and we showed it this year. We beat everybody in recruiting, and I don't care what they say, if we spent the money or not. We didn't break any rules. We're not LSU. We're not doing anything wrong. We're doing it right.
No, you're absolutely right. And look,
they can say whatever they want. They can sit there and email us if they want to, and I'll go head to head with you and tell you why we're beating you. And that's why we're going to start beating you and beat you every year, because we're getting better players. If we lose a guy like this,
the one thing I will disagree with you is this.
We're getting better.
The one thing I will disagree with you is this: is in time, if Jimbo doesn't actually start putting it on the field, that recruiting will take a hit. I believe that. And so he's going to have to start putting some results on the field, or else, the talent level will take a dip. I truly believe it.
What is your definition of results on the field? The championship, national, needs to win the West? What are you talking about?
Compete for a championship, whatever that means.
We beat Alabama last year, right?
How
Only
many
one of the teams did that.
Hold on, whoa! Don't tell me
one of the teams did that last year.
No. Hold on. Don't tell me we competed for a championship last year.
I didn't say we competed for a championship. I didn't say we competed for a championship. I didn't say we competed for a championship. I said we beat Alabama.
SEC teams.
What other SEC team beat Alabama last year? Georgia. In the championship game.
All right. So, but all I'm saying is, success is competing for a championship. That is success.
All right. Now, saying that, I think this year we're going to be down a little bit just because
Well,
we're so young. I don't know. I hope I'm
that could
wrong. I
very
don't
well
understand
be.
why we're ranked number 5 or 4 or where we're ranked 6
That
preseason.
could
I
be
think
the
that's
case.
going to.
But
I think
if
that's
if you lose
awful.
if you lose 4 games to Arkansas, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and LSU this year again,
He's
it
fired. I'm
is
just
an
letting him go.
epic failure.
You're saying we fire
Epic.
him? Is that what you're saying? Let him go?
I would. Yeah, I would.
Buy him out? Buy him out?
Wow.
Y'all heard it here live. Alejo's letting him go.
Heard it. If they lose 4 games
Fired.
to those teams, they should fire him. Because it tells me that he's never going to win it here. Ever.
Well, I'll tell you what, we definitely shouldn't lose to Ole Miss next year.
Right.
Definitely not Ole Miss. God, if we lose to Ole Miss, that's
all right. So a couple of things. Let's go ahead and get into it. A little bit of spring football. Corey, let's start with the offense. Players you're most excited to see in the spring game that you really want to watch do something in the spring game. Mind you, that means that they actually have to be participating in spring. So, guys like McKinley Jackson or, all the other guys that are.
Man, I mean, I'm curious to see the quarterback battle. Of course, I want to see that. I want to see these freshmen. I want to see what they're doing. I want to see the tight ends. Golly, I want to see Cup get out there and see what he's made of, and I want to see Jake Johnson. I want to see what these tight ends are made of. I want to see the offensive line actually get physical. I want to see a physical offensive line this year. I want to see them run block. I want to see them hit somebody. I want to see them, pass blocking's all right, but I want to see them get physical with somebody. But, I mean, I want to see the young wide receivers. I want to see Preston get out there because I'm really high on Preston. I have been. I was high on him last
Preston
year.
is not a young wide receiver. He's going to be a senior.
Well, I understand that, but I'm still high on him. I was high on him last year. That's what I was saying. I mean, he's I think the guy's good. I don't understand why he didn't get the ball more. But
and that's
football. It's not
correct.
like basketball where everybody touches the ball every possession. I mean, it's just I think he needs the ball. Achane needs the ball. I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
So Achane won't be there. But I love what you said about the offensive line. The offensive line and how they play, I think, to me, is going to be a huge part of what I want to see in that spring game. Like you said, I want to see some aggressiveness. I want to see them guys make some plays, be able to handle our defensive line, right? How does Trey Zune play at the left tackle spot? A guy that's taken over, as a sophomore now at that spot, or a redshirt freshman, really, that comes in and hasn't had the playing experience. Does he look like he could take over that spot and be a good left tackle? How about Matthew Wyckoff, who's taken over at center for Foster while he's out on track? Does he look like he actually should be a guy taking reps with the first team, continuing going forward, maybe moving Foster to a guard spot? Those types of things to me are critical, and it's definitely something I'm going to be watching. What happens? Something to say.
What happens if our offensive line dominates our defensive line? What are we going to come out with that thinking? Our defense is going to be awful next year?
Well, I already told you that the defense is taking a step back.
Yeah, but if they dominate them, I'm talking if our offensive line dominates our defensive line, we're going to be in for a long season.
I don't know that that's true because I think to me it would mean more about the offensive line than it would the defensive line. The reason being is because there's no way with the recruiting classes we've had on the defensive line the last few years that we don't have the talent there. The talent is there. So
I think the talent is there, but it's a big difference. I mean, you've said it before. I mean, even offensive linemen and defensive linemen, it's hard to get in there as freshmen.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's just a growing. I mean, it's just.
I think the group that's got to be more critical than the freshmen. The group that's got to be more critical than freshmen is that sophomore group, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the sophomore, they should have been in the weight room. That's a big difference between college and high school is, getting in the weight room and getting the size on you, the maturity. Yeah. It makes a big difference.
Going back to the offense, I think we agree on the offensive line. We want to see that. We want to see those guys play well. Look, I want to see these quarterbacks, man. I do. I really do, because I know that our receivers can play. I've been saying that for years. I know that those guys can go make plays. I know our tight ends can play. Those guys are athletes. They're out there. They're going to get opportunities. I want to see our quarterbacks because I want to see how those guys come in this spring. Where do they stand with the offense? How comfortable are they going through progressions? Look, I've said it 100 times already. Haynes King will be the starter. I want to see how he plays. I want to see if he's letting the ball loose like he was doing last year, man. Are we going down the field? Are we pushing it? Is that guy going to try, is he making big plays? I want to see if he's reading the defense well, right? He threw some interceptions in last year's game. It was his first one. This one, he'll get another opportunity to get out there and throw some balls. And I know, sometimes they're trying things. But even more than Haynes King, I want to see Connor Wigman play.
I do too.
I want to see him play, not because he's going to be the starter next year, but because I want to see what he can do.
Yeah.
I want to see the talent, the arm talent, the physical talents, all the things that people have been raving about that we saw in high school, that we've seen them, in on a limited basis here during the spring. I want to see those things in live action football, somewhat live action football. They've got the red jersey on or whatever, right?
Right.
But I do. That's what I want to see. And because he's going to – look, if you ask me, he is taking over the reins of this offense with it no later than 2 years from now and probably a year from now. Not this coming season, but the season after, right?
So what are you talking, like 6 games into this year? Sounds about right.
So, but that's the guy I'm excited to see. How about you, man? You've been on this guy all spring long.
I want to see him play. I think that's why that Eli kid decommitted. I think he thought, man, I'm going to sit there behind this guy for a couple of years. I'm not going to get any playing time. I need to go somewhere else. And I think that's realistic. I think that's what these kids think about. Like they see Connor Wegman, they see how good he is, and they're like, man, we better want to pump the brakes for a second because I'm not getting on the field anytime soon unless he gets hurt. And and if I do, you still got Haynes King
and you're Max Johnson. Aren't you thinking, look, I better win this job this year because after this year, all bets are off. Yeah, I gotta go have a big year because I need to go get to the NFL.
And when you said you saw Haynes King throw interceptions in the spring game last year, I was like, that's all I've seen him do. I've seen him throw interceptions in the spring game, the first game last year, and then he got hurt in the first quarter, a couple plays of Colorado.
You got to be aggressive.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not a Haynes King. I'm not a Haynes King hater. I'm not hating Haynes King. I'm just saying
he's got to prove it.
Show me something. You showed me picks last year in the spring game. You showed me picks in the first game against Kent State.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. Come on, man.
I like the fact that he's going to put it down the field, man, and go give his receivers an opportunity to go make a play because that's what I want to see because I think our receivers can go make those plays. Speaking of which, I want to see Evan Stewart.
I do too. Oh, yeah, I want to see him big time.
That guy, he's just a better athlete than the rest of the folks on that field, and I want to see that. I want to see him out there running those routes, getting open. I want to see our defenders try to cover him. So that's pretty big for me. The running back group, it's going to be interesting to see who really steps up, who's going to be A-Chain's number 2 there out of that group. Crownover specifically, I want to see. He started. It seems to me like he's taken a few steps forward there since last year, and so I want to see sort of where he stands in that mix. Anybody else? I mean, am I leaving anybody out?
No, we pretty much want to see the whole team play is all we're saying. We haven't talked about the kickers or special teams yet or anything like that. So
we'll get there. So let's move on to the defense, right? And look, who's your guy? If you had to start with one player.
Oh, I've been talking about McKinley Jackson for the last 2 years.
McKinley Jackson's not playing. So
I know he's not playing, but I'm saying you're asking who's my guy. That'd be my guy.
Who's the guy?
I told you I'm high on White. I was high on White coming into this season just because I think he's a good athlete. I think he's going to get after the quarterback, but I don't know if they're going to let him do that in the spring game so much. So I don't know if we'll see that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. But White's a guy that we've seen on the field. He's had plenty of reps the last couple of years. I mean,
I want to see the secondary play. I want to see our secondary play against this against these wide receivers that are so good, and see if they can hold their own. I'm not sure what that's going to tell us. I never know. I mean, say they get burnt. Does that mean our secondary sucks, or does that mean our wide receivers are that good? You know what I'm saying?
It probably means they need some work. Look,
Yeah.
I agree with you in the secondary, man. Absolutely. I want to see the. I do. I want to see how the corners play. Right? Can they
Right.
cover our guys out there, especially if our offense is being aggressive and throwing some balls down the field? Will Chappelle and Moten and Jones and George and those guys, will they hold up? Will they cover? Right?
Right.
Sure. But I'm gonna tell you number one guy I want to see from the secondary. And I don't know how many reps he's gonna get, but I want to see Antonio Johnson. And the reason I want to see Antonio Johnson is because he's a
not going to be
beast.
allowed to. He's not going to be allowed to hit anybody, and that's what you want to see is him hit somebody. He's not going to be able to do it.
I want
You
to
don't
see
want
if
to see
he
that.
plays more center field, if he gets out there, backs up into the free safety spot. I want to see how he looks if he does get that spot. I want to see how he looks doing that, right? How's he reacting to the ball in the air and doing those things? Man, I'm excited to see our best player, our best defensive player, and see how he does in that atmosphere. That's what I want to see.
I understand what you're saying, but I also want to see. I don't know what the coaches are going to show us in this spring game. We said that last year too. We don't know what they're going to show us. I'm curious about this defensive coordinator, if he's going to show us what kind of formations he's going to be using, or if this is just like a practice that doesn't mean shit, and we're just going to be like, man, it didn't mean anything. He's not showing us anything,
So last
he's
year
going to run a 3-4 or a 4-3, and if he's going to do any nickel packages and bring Antonio. I don't see that happening during the spring practice because I don't see the quarterback getting hit, and I don't see him trying to do any of that.
Last year, they brought some pressures during the spring game, but that was a defense that was returning a coordinator. You had several years of tape on them. You knew sort of what they were going to do. It wasn't a big deal that they showed some of their big blitz packages. This year, on the other hand, you've got a new coordinator. Maybe there is a little bit of that gamesmanship, not really showing what you're going to do so much and, be very base, let's say, a little bit vanilla.
Right.
Even compared to other spring games.
Right.
One other group that I want to see, and you've heard me talk about this, I want to see the defensive ends, man. Specifically, two guys. I want to see Jason Harris. And the reason why is because I think he's got the opportunity to be one of those guys that really is a guy that can come off the edge.
Who were you talking about last year? Were you talking about him last year at the spring game?
No, I was talking about Donnell Harris, but Donnell Harris is not participating in this. Donnell Harris is not participating. I'd say Donnell Harris, but he's not participating.
All right.
So I want to see Jason because he's a guy that is that same type, right? A guy come off the edge, and let's see if he can bring some pressure, right? Just straight athlete, somebody right off the edge. I want to see that. And along with him, Adelier, because Adelier is probably starting at the other end for this team as of right today, right? And so I want to see what that guy can do as far as his athleticism, how much he shows and can come off the ball in a pass situation where everybody knows it's a pass situation. How does he do bringing pressure, right? Those two guys to me are guys that I really want to see, and I want to see them against our number one offensive line, hopefully, against our number one offensive line in order to see, hey, look, how are these guys going to perform in the SEC, right? So to me, those are the two guys, along with Antonio Johnson, as I said. Anybody else you want to mention here in this defense? I mean, look, this is your –
I mean, it's a lot of the guys. I mean, some of the guys aren't going to be playing, like you said. But, yeah, I mean, I want to see all the D-line. I want to see guys like Turner from last year show up. I want to see what he's got. He didn't stand out to me like McKinley Jackson stood out to me his freshman year. I thought McKinley Jackson his freshman year, I was asking, I kept saying, who is that guy? Who is that? What the hell is that bowling ball doing out there causing, just destroying the offensive line?
You're 100% correct on that. But last year, then, we were saying, where the hell is McKinley Jackson?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. But I didn't say that about Turner last year, so I want to say that. And, these guys come in with this hype, and sometimes it's a bad thing because we're expecting so much, and we got to remember they're freshmen. Yeah. But there's a lot of hype. And like Turner, I think this will be his year to get better. He's had a year in the weight room, get stronger, get some coaching.
Look, That's absolutely great point, because hopefully with Turner's, we're talking about it the opposite of McKinley Jackson, right? Like
Yeah.
he really wasn't all that impressive as a freshman, but man, he's made huge strides as a sophomore, right? And so
And we've seen that over and over. Like Bobby Brown did it when, we kept seeing stuff, he got bigger and bigger. Every year you're like, man, Corey, you got to see Bobby Brown. He's a beast. You remember you kept telling me, you're like, dude, this guy's huge. He's a beast.
Look like Tarzan, play like Jane.
And yeah, and we kept expecting it over and over. And I guess we got somewhat of it his last year here, but it was like it still wasn't what we expected. A dominant player.
No, you're absolutely correct. And I can't remember. I mean, I can't remember the last like 5-star that showed up and he was everything that we thought he would be here at A&M. Myles Garrett, but Myles took plays off too.
That's
right?
what I was thinking. Yeah, Myles. That was his big knock, was taking plays off.
Don't get me wrong, he's still a big time performer and everything else, and he had some injury issues while he was here. But nobody can deny what Myles Garrett did on the field when he was going, right? Like when you saw it, you were like, yeah, that guy's 5-star, that guy's a number 1 draft pick, all those things, right? But you're right. I mean, I want to see one of those guys do that. Yeah, I want to see somebody that shows
physically, these guys have all the tools. I mean, it's all about, their head being in the game. And I think if their head's there and the coaches have them right, that we're going to be fine, because these guys have all the tools. It's not like we're taking a bunch of transfers and plug and play in like we did last year with the offensive line. We're taking guys that are 5-star recruits, that they're
on
good.
The opposite side of that, though, as well as I do, that experience means something. And, we've been talking about it with the NCAA tournament going on, right? Because you get these teams that are all seniors and everything else. Wake Forest, for example, a lot of juniors and seniors, right? I mean,
a lot of transfers.
But you get these teams with a lot of upperclassmen that make these runs in these tournaments, even that come out of nowhere, these no-name conferences and whatever. But then you go look at the roster. Yeah, they're all seniors. They're all juniors, right? Mm-hmm. And that means something. The experience means something. Probably means more in, I don't know. It means as much in all sports to me, I guess, is what I would say. But it means it's a big thing in football, right? It's the cohesiveness of playing together in a true team sport and all those things, right? And so, not to mention, like you said, the difference in the weight program at A&M versus whatever high school they're coming from is not even close, right? So,
absolutely,
not nutrition. They get fed the nutrition. Their diets are
they get changed, put on a diet. I mean, that's all they're doing right now is living football. I mean, they can say what they want about the school part, but they're living football. I mean, that's what they're here to do.
And I'm glad they are. I'm glad they are, because I like to watch them. All right, so here we go.
Podcast if they didn't.
Questions from the tailgate brought to you by Rawson Distributing,
all right,
assisting Aggies with all their drilling needs, Aggie owned and operated. Corey, we got a question for you, buddy.
Go ahead. What you got?
You've been saying that the defense is going to be just as dominant in 2022. Where do you expect them to rank in the SEC or in the nation? Just for reference purposes, last year they were in yards per game. They were 3rd in the SEC, 14th in the nation. In yards per play, they were 2nd in the SEC behind Georgia and 6th in the nation. In the area that's most important, if you ask me, for defense, in scoring, 2nd in the SEC, 3rd in the nation.
All right. I understand what you're saying there. Now, are we playing Prairie View?
I'm not saying anything.
State?
This is a question from the fans.
No, I understand the question, but I'm saying, are we playing Prairie View, Kent State? Or those stats get a little skewed? Colorado? Or we're taking we got a different schedule this year, different teams. Miami's better than Colorado. Miami has a good quarterback. I watched them play last year. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, our defense, talent-wise, yeah, we're there. Competition-wise, we're going up in competition. We have a harder schedule next year. Yeah, every quarter. How many? You said last show that how many quarterbacks are coming back from Arkansas has their quarterback back. Mississippi State has their quarterback back.
Ole Miss does it.
Well, that's Ole Miss. I told
LSU does it.
I thought LSU did. He was actually their starting quarterback beginning of the
LSU's
season.
LSU's quarterback's playing for
No,
the
who was
Aggies.
LSU's quarterback last year starting the season?
Well, but who was their starter? Who was the starter for the
I'm
actual
just saying.
season?
Just
He
saying.
got hurt in either the first game.
Alabama has their quarterback back. Who else? South Carolina's got a better quarterback than what they had last year. I'm just thinking of teams we're playing. So, I mean, the competition, I think our defense, I don't think it'll be quite that high, but they'll be right up there. So, I mean, I don't know. We're putting a lot of our eggs in with this new coach, so I'm not sure what to expect from him.
Look, I think the defense,
I think the
talent-wise, like you have said before, has plenty of talent.
Right.
I think that they're missing the experience side of this. And I do think that there's a couple of important pieces, specifically for me, is who's going to be the deep safety and who's going to be the rush end. There's a couple of pieces there to me that still have to be determined. Having said all that, I believe we do take a step back defensively because of the experience, because of the lack of experience, to be more precise. And I'm not saying that we're going to be 10th in the SEC, right? But I think from second, basically, which is what we were, right? The second best defense in the SEC behind Georgia.
Yeah.
From there, I don't know. We're probably more in the mix between third and fifth, right? Somewhere in there.
Well, Alabama's going to be better, I think, this year. Alabama will be a better defense. They have a lot of players coming back.
Yeah.
Georgia's still Georgia. I'm not sure. I mean, Georgia's going to be good. They lost a lot of players.
They're going to take a step back too, right?
Well, that's what they're saying, but they've been saying that for a couple of years, and they've recruited well, just like we have.
And Kirby Smart, hands down, is one of the best defensive minds in all of football. That guy's great.
Yeah, right. He's great. Love the guy. It's great.
Love the guy. All right. So question number 2. So I think let's put a finishing bow on this. I think we agree that there's a chance that they take a step back.
Yeah.
But not a huge step back, right?
Not big. No. I mean, talent-wise, they're up there. That's why they're ranked number 5 or 6 in the nation, for God's sake. They haven't even proven anything in their preseason 5 or 6. It drives me nuts. I think we're going to quit talking about that.
I'm going to say their offense is a lot better. All right. Question number 2. Name one guy on defense, one guy on offense that will come out of nowhere and be a big factor on this team in 2022. And when I say come out of nowhere, I really mean like you didn't expect it, right?
Well, that's kind of odd because
so
I keep talking about White on defense, and he didn't do anything to excite anybody last year, but I got a little excited about it. I saw the speed, I saw the downhill ability, I see him getting after it. I think that he's going to surprise a lot of people. That's me. Like Antonio Johnson last year, I didn't see that coming, and that was amazing. I think it could be somebody in the secondary like that. Because we expect those defensive linemen to put it on because they were all highly recruited. So we're like, we
and none of them got that many reps last year. So there's some of those guys, at least some of those guys are going to get some recognition, right?
And you said for defense and offense.
So let's start with defense. So defense, you think it's White's your guy?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you a name. Josh Moten.
Who?
Josh Moten, cornerback. And it's sort of a dark horse here because of the fact that there's a ton of depth at cornerback, right?
Yeah, I don't even.
So Moten, I'll tell you this, I was very impressed with him last year in the spring and he ended up getting hurt in the spring game.
Okay.
And so he was out all season. If he's healthy, I think that guy is a player, man.
I think they're just so deep at cornerback. How's he going to get on the field?
Well, if he's better than some of those other guys, than some of those other guys, he should take their spot, right?
Are you talking about? One of the Joneses?
I'm talking about both of the Joneses because Chappelle.
I can't believe you're down on Jalen Jones that bad. Are you really that far down on Jalen?
No,
because you were high. You were high as a kite on that guy last year, beginning of the season. Man, they won't throw the ball his way, and he's that good. Best cover corner in college football.
I don't think I ever said that. But I still think the guy. Look, and you're right. I was super high on him last year, and I still think that the guy is going to be a piece of what we're doing defensively. I think he should move. from outside corner into the nickel spot or the free safety spot.
Well, okay, if he takes a nickel spot, he's taking Antonio's spot. You can't do that.
And that moves Antonio into the free safety spot. Which, what did I just say was one of my question marks about this defense?
But that's what we had talked about before. I thought we talked about moving Jones into the safety spot and leaving Antonio.
Maybe.
Why?
And so
why would you mess up a good thing?
No, and that's
you have a good thing already in Antonio there. Why would you screw that up? That's your problem. You don't go around screwing up a good thing. You leave it alone. Leave a good thing alone. And
I'm not arguing.
Something that's already screwed up, go fix that.
I agree with
that's a coach right there for you. That's a Jimbo problem. You're probably thinking like Jimbo. Hey, we got a good thing going. Let's go ahead and mix it up real quick and see if we can screw it up. No,
look,
don't do that.
I agree with you. 100% fully agree with you.
All right, offensive side, the surprise on the offense. I think we talked about him over and over. It's tight end Jake Johnson. I mean, I told you about that. I don't know if you had a chance to look at that TikTok of Big Bad Brad, his dad's TikTok page, and he had Jake on there, and they were showing some of his high school stuff. And that kid is impressive, buddy. Pretty impressive. The kid.
We talked about it.
Skills.
We talked about it, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you. Jake Johnson, I think it's a guy that is going to be catching balls this year as a freshman.
Yeah, I don't care who's throwing the ball. I think he's going to catch them and make plays.
And I'm going to give you one other name, and I said it earlier, Ernest Crownover.
I knew you were going there.
I think he's going to have a part in this. I'm not saying it's going to be huge. He's not going to be, A-chain to A-chain Spiller or whatever, But he's going to have a part in this offense. He's going to be getting carries where everybody thought that it would be maybe L.J. Johnson and Amari Daniels all the time. I think this guy's going to get in the mix.
I got to do some research on that guy because I really don't know much about him, to be honest with you.
Dude, he's you can look at him and he looks big and physical, man, and still pretty damn athletic. I'm impressed with what I've seen so far.
Who do you compare him to, like NFL or anything? Ex-Aggie. Is he more like a fullback? Is he
I don't know if I'm ready to compare him. No, he's a tailback for sure. But from in our group, he's probably the biggest one we've got. And
is he like a Fournette?
Not that big. I mean, Fournette was like a. He was like a specimen, right? As an unbelievable human being.
A lot like myself. Yeah.
So I don't know if I could say who I compare him to yet because I'd want to see him. I'd want to see him with the ball in his hands a little bit more to get a feel for that. But man, I mean, I think he's got physical tools, and he's been here for a couple of years. He's well developed. He's obviously taken advantage of the program, which we've talked about, here at A&M. So I think he's going to get a role. We'll see.
Okay,
we'll see.
Cool,
Corey, man, that's a good one.
Good job, buddy.
Giga Mags.
Let's go. Corey. Game time. Hey, game's on right now. It's almost halftime.
Hey, we got to put the basketball game on. Latest.